All right, let's talk about externalizing behavior. So we know that children respond to pressures in their environment, the demands and adversity that students have in school in different ways. They're going to vary. So some children, take their emotional problems outward into externalizing their behavior. So these children, they're going to express themselves with a negative response to these life experiences. So their actions are going to be negative, destructive, and it's going to be within or against that social or physical environment that they are in. And externalizing behavior can be contrasted by internalizing behavior, which I will get into in the next video. So let's talk about the different types of externalized behavior. So children who externalize, they enact these emotional issues that they have by directing anger, frustration, anxiety, and a variety of other emotions into aggressive behavior. So some examples of this aggressive externalizing behavior might include cheating, setting fires, swearing, stealing, truancy, lying, and vandalism. Children may externalize these behaviors in varied ways, right? Bragging, screaming, seeking attention, arguing, teasing, threatening, being demanding, and losing their temper are all different ways. Also, hyperactivity and impulsivity are classified as types of externalized behavior. So I've seen a lot of externalized behavior in this past year. At the Boys and Girls Club, there was a student who he has trouble. He swears. He has trouble with stealing. He has even trouble with vandalism when he stole soup cans and threw them at the building. So that's a case of stealing and vandalism. So that's the type of externalizing behavior. And it even says in this article that hyperactivity and impulsivity are also types of externalizing behavior. And I have students that in class they have that impulsivity, that hyperactivity. It's hard for them to sit still. It's hard for them to focus on a task. So that would be another example of externalizing behavior. Let's get into the diagnosis. So children who engage in these externalized behavior usually fit into specific categories of the American Psychiatric Association. And in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, which there is a slide and a video about that. So children who show this aggressive behavior, they can also often be diagnosed with oppositional defiant disorder, while children who engage in delinquent behaviors tend to be diagnosed with conduct disorder. So children who are hyperactive, distracted, and impulsive are often diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity syndrome. And I have a variety of students who are diagnosed with that. Let's go into the consequences here. So externalized behavior can have an immediate impact of disrupting the family, school, or whatever social environment that the child is acting out in. Parents, teachers, or other adults, they might reprimand, punish, or isolate the child. There could be some very significant and detrimental long-term effects if this externalizing behavior isn't mitigated. They could potentially cause a lot of problems both to that individual but also to the society as well, right? The student at the Boys and Girls Club that stole and vandalized, there was a consequence for that, right? Suspension from the Boys and Girls Club, had to work with a counselor at the Boys and Girls Club. But as that student gets older, if those problems are mitigated, then they will, instead of dealing with the administration at the Boys and Girls Club, they would have to deal with the police, right? And go to a court. So if that problem isn't mitigated, it could potentially arise into something much, much worse and be a threat to themselves and society. So children who engage in externalizing behavior are at greater risk for juvenile delinquency, violence, and adult criminal behavior. Let's go into some treatment here. So interventions for externalizing behavior include pharmacologic treatment, which uses medications like lithium, risperidone, methylphenidate, and haloperidol. Behavior management and parenting effectiveness programs assist children and families to manage externalized behavior. So those are all the treatments. So again, with that student, we had behavior management with a counselor at the Boys and Girls Club was one form of treatment for that.